All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of Boxing Bananas brought to you by one of the greatest platforms in the business, Fight Bananas, where we're bananas and crazy about fights. For those who may have not seen our previous episode on Tuesday and are wondering who is this guy, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ray, longtime boxing fan, also an MMA fan, and I'm here officially on the Fight Bananas platform. I am joined by Fight Bananas Hall of Famer, the Professor, John Radford. How's it going, brother?
It's going good, brother. Listen, I'm excited. The first episode was awesome. I'm ready to do it again.
Sweet, bro. So let's get right into it. We're going today to talk about the fights this weekend. We got another card coming from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, brought to you by His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh. We got a interesting one cooking up here. We have a 5 versus 5, also including a Dimitri Bivol fight. Before we actually get into the 5v5, let's cover the Dimitri Bivol fight and what it could have been, which is it could have been the undisputed fight, Bivol versus Better Beev, however you want to say it. Bivol. Nobody knows how to pronounce any of their names, but we know that it would have been for all the titles, and it would have been one of the best fights in light heavyweight that we've seen in a long time,
Yes.
especially how I feel like it's been cooking for a while. John, what are your thoughts on that potential matchup? Hopefully it still happens. And are you bummed that it's not happening this Saturday?
Oh, 100% bummed. Definitely bummed. When I heard he got injured, I was like, that's
Do you
just.
know what the injury was?
I don't. I can honestly say, I thought when I first read it was undisclosed, and I never went and found out if they disclosed it. So,
Hmm.
but like, I don't see him being a punk in any kind of way and pulling out just to pull out because of whatever
I mean, he's a tough guy, so
Yeah,
yeah, I don't see
he
that from him either.
I think he must there must have been something or somebody gave him
Knee
better
injury.
advice. Yeah, it was a knee injury.
But it says earlier this month, Better Be have suffered a knee injury in training
Yeah,
that forced the bout to be postponed into an unknown later date. Granted, Bivol gets through this with a victory.
yeah. I mean that makes sense. You can't box if you don't have if your knees hurt. You can't move the way you want to move, things like that.
Yeah, unless
And
you're
it,
Sergio Martinez.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean, but not everybody can can do those special moments like that and stuff. Some people have fought on torn ACLs for the whole rest of the fights, things like that. But it's like if you know it, and this is for all the marbles.
you can't go
Why
into it with
Yeah,
that.
like why do that? Why do that, right? You know what I mean? So that's a bummer, but it sounds like he'll be able to heal up. And I think they move it to October
No,
or
it's I mean it's not
not set yet.
rescheduled yet,
Okay.
just for the fact that Bivol has to get through this fight first. I mean,
Okay.
it's one of those things where now he's got a new fight, and the gentleman he will be fighting, his
Malik.
name is Malik Zenad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Very pretty much unknown guy. I can't lie and say that I know who he is or I've seen any of his fights before, but knowing Bivol and how good he is and how skilled he is and how he's arguably the number one guy at 175, and I say arguably because if somebody were to die on the hill of saying, oh, I think Better Be is the number one guy, I I'm not going to argue against it either. So that's
Yeah,
why that's what makes that fight so intriguing.
absolutely,
um
100%,
but I
100%.
think we'll see a Dimitri Bivol showcase masterclass, like we saw in the last fight and the fight before that against Zerto, and even kind of in the fight against Canelo.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be able to implement that pendulum style bouncing
Hmm.
technique that he does. The typical, I don't want to say typical, but the unique Russian style that they do.
Yeah.
The how he moves and everything like that. He's so good with it, pumping his jab, bouncing back in and out, just right where he needs to be. It'll be a master class. He should pick him apart, probably get a finish. Who knows how early? Who knows how late right now? But you'll be able to tell as the fight goes on. Okay, he's going to be able to get him out of here, or oh, he's getting rounds in preparation for something. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
Arthur Beterbiev. Um, but yeah, that when those two clash, it's going to be the the tactician versus like the Hulk.
Yeah.
It's like hurt him, he gets angrier, then he punches you harder, and then you
Hmm.
go to sleep. That's just kind of how it is, right?
Yeah.
And then Dimitri Bivol just pieces you up and keeps you exactly where he wants you. Defense, offense is pumping the whole time. Then he makes you miss. He's in and out. And he's just that typical bang, 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 putting punches together, just keeping it very, very technical and clean at the range that he wants it. And it's really going to be the immovable object against the unstoppable force. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And who's gonna get that? You know what I mean? I don't know, but it's gonna be a hell of a fight. That's what it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
I think it's funny we're over here talking about a fight that's not happening.
Yeah,
But
that's how big it is, though. That's how big it
I
is.
know,
You
that's
know?
what I'm saying. And you know what I really like about it is the fact that it's finally coming together, because I wasn't too optimistic that it was going to come together before, His Excellency and Saudi Arabia came into the picture. Especially with being a boxing fan, man, we saw them drop the ball. We saw boxing as a sport drop the ball in this very division a few years back. I don't remember how many years now. It must have been, 2018, 17, whenever it was, when um, you had Kovalev, I believe, with three of the titles, and Adonis Superman Stevenson, who looked, pretty damn good, almost unbeatable at the time.
Yeah.
And those two seemed like they were on a collision course for a great, great fight. I would have loved to have seen that fight, and we just never saw that fight. So that's one of those
Yeah.
fights
True.
that unfortunately boxing didn't deliver for us, which makes this one a little more special, just knowing that um that it hopefully will happen once Bivol gets through this fight. So
Which
what I'm
he
curious
will.
to see, though, is where this fight lands on the card, because they're doing the 5v5. I've heard talks that it might open up the card, kind of like how the UFC will start the card with a huge fight. I think that will
Well,
be interesting.
I feel kind of silly right now. I'm sorry. Tell me what the 5v5 is. What is that?
Okay, yeah. So let's get into that. Actually, I feel like we've pretty much talked enough about a fight that's not going to happen, and a fight that necessarily isn't, the most competitive in the world. People aren't biting their nails over the B-ball fight right now. So,
No, yeah,
so what the 5v5 is, for all the listeners, you got Matchroom Boxing Promotions, led by Eddie Hearn, and you got Queensbury Promotions, led by Frank Warren. These are two guys from England who previously did not like each other. They're never would really do fights with each other unless there was some sort of a purse split, or a purse bid
okay.
force fight that needed to happen. And they would actually actively kind of trash each other in the media and whatnot. But
Okay.
now, isn't it crazy what money can do?
Oh, it brings everybody together,
It
right?
brings
Especially
everyone
the
together.
rich. It brings the rich together, at least. I know that. That's what it does. Um, let's go. Tell me now, what side is who on? So Deontay Wilder, Zhang. Who's on what side?
So before I answer that question, I'll explain a little bit further into what the 5v5 is, right? To answer your
Okay.
first question. So the
Okay.
5v5, the way this came about was His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh. He decided, he had announced at the press conference for Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou that he wanted to do a matchroom boxing versus Queensbury fight card. And his idea was, I'm going to pick weight classes, and we're going to do 5 fights. Each promotion, depending on what the weight class is, he'll announce the weight classes. Each promotion will then pick a fighter to represent their promotion in that weight class. But the catch is, until the press conference to announce what fights were happening, neither side knew who they were going to fight. So that threw a little bit of a wrench in there. In, okay, we can't just, throw out. So you can't pick and choose based off of who else is going to go. There was really no negotiation like that. It was just put up a guy in that weight class, and here it goes. So we got a few different weight classes in there. We got 126, 140. We got 2 fights at heavyweight and one at 175. And there's also a unique scoring system in the entirety of it, not in the individual bouts, but in the entirety of it, we're going to see a unique scoring in determining who wins Matchroom or Queensbury. The way it goes, if there's a draw, it's 0 points. If
Oh,
a fighter wins by decision, 1 point is awarded to the either promotion. If a fighter wins by stoppage, 2 points is awarded to either promotion. And for the captains, which is going to be the headliner, Wilder and Zhang, that fight will be double points. So if there's a knockout in there, that's 4 points awarded. So that could seal the whole deal for the entire card. What are your thoughts on that kind of setup? And it's a little bit different than anything we've seen before in boxing.
I'm cool with everything except for that point system you just told me. That makes no damn sense. Like,
It's
why do
it's
that?
kind of just for bragging rights. I feel like.
I know, but all you have to do are there. How many fights are there? You said you're telling me it's 5 versus 5, right?
Yeah.
So the one with the 3 wins, they
Yeah.
win they win the event. Like, what does it matter? Like, what does it matter?
Well, not necessarily, because let's say one side wins 3 fights, but they win them all by decision. And then the other side that won 2 fights, both won by knockout.
No,
Then
I get what you're saying, but what
the
I mean
official
is like,
score 4-3.
yeah, I get what that does. So they're rewarding the knockout more, but ultimately his promotion won because 3 of his dudes won.
Well, yeah, for sure.
But that's how I look at it. I'm like, if you had an even number, like if it was 6 versus 6, I kind of get that. But you have an odd number, you can, I don't know.
There already should be a winner with
Yeah,
the odd number.
Yeah, I mean, like if you want
But
to,
what if there's a draw on one of them?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen that often. I would bet the fact that we could probably get a result out of that. But I get what it is. If you want to reward them to get knockouts in the sense of like that type of motivation and to like to fight harder, I guess if you think that's what's going to make a fighter fight harder, I get that then. So that makes sense because yeah, 2 guys could save the card, especially if Deontay Wilder is one of them or whatever side of the top is one of them, right? And the other guy, they get knockouts at 6 points. That's going to overtake the 3 points that the decisions get or whatever like that. So I understand that. But there's 5 fights. The other guy wins 3 and you win 2.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you for sure. So it's just something a little bit interesting in there. So we'll
what
see
side is what?
Okay. So we got the official lineup. Eddie Hearn's team Matchroom will be featuring Craig Richards at light heavyweight, Austin Ammo Williams at middleweight, Raymond Ford at featherweight, and Philip Hergovich at heavyweight, led by the team captain, Deontay Wilder, at heavyweight. What do you think about that lineup for Matchroom Boxing?
I like that lineup for Eddie Hearn. That's a pretty good for this card. That's a good lineup.
I think also I should mention, I think it was almost, I don't want to call it cheating, but I'm pretty sure he signed Deontay Wilder to like a 1-fight deal. So Deontay Wilder isn't a Matchroom fighter. There's even for like my boxing fans that really know the history of Deontay Wilder and Matchroom and all the drama that went down with them negotiating the Anthony Joshua fight that fell out. I never thought I would see a day where Deontay Wilder was being promoted by Eddie Hearn, but like we said, it's funny what money can do, especially when you got that Saudi money. So they picked up Deontay Wilder, which is a good pickup. But that brings me to Frank Warren's team, Queensbury. We have Willie Hitchinson at light heavyweight, Hamza Shiraz at middleweight, Nick Ball at featherweight, Daniel Dubois at heavyweight, and Zheli Zhang at heavyweight. What do you think about those ones?
I mean, Zhang is man has a left hand that like just rocks thunder. It's slow, but if it connects, it's just damn. It's damn.
Ask Joe Joyce.
Yeah, exactly. It's damn. Holy like crap. So He's a powerful puncher too, just like Deontay Wilder. And so that's a good match. I don't know if Daniel Dubois has enough to pull off against uh
Hergovich.
Ergovich. But he's not a slouch in any kind of way, you know what I mean? I think
Hergovich has a win over Zhang too, and it wasn't too long ago. It was in September of
mm,
2022
yeah. So okay, so and then I think the only real one that he has, the one he has the best shot with, besides Zhang having the power, is probably Willie Hutchinson versus
Yeah,
Craig Richards. I think that's his best matchup besides just the one punch power ability of Zhang. You know what I mean?
yeah, most definitely. So we'll see what happens. As far as, I mean, we do have one title fight on there, and that's going to be the Raymond Ford versus Nick Ball fight. So that's good that we got a title fight on there. um Ammo Williams is somebody who's coming up and has a lot of hype behind him,
Mhm.
so that should be a good fight. And then, like you said, the Hutchison versus the Spider Richards. Out of those three fights, which one do you think will be the one to look forward to the most?
If I remember, Nick Ball, he had a was it a he lost either lost the decision or won something like a pretty solid fight. It was a hard fought fight, but it was like I'm trying to think if that's the kid. Um,
Against
so
Ray Vargas. Oh no,
maybe
he had a draw against Ray Vargas
okay,
in his last fight for the WBC title, but he beat Dogbe.
okay. But it was the Ray Vargas one I saw where he got a draw where I was like, man, that was close. I might have gave it to the kid. You know what I mean? I might have gave it
Yeah, a
to
lot of
him.
people felt the same way.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So I do have the right guy. So that one should be entertaining because that kid is tough. That kid is
Yeah.
tough, and I know Raymond Ford is good too. So that should be a good fight. But I always like to see if the hype trains are the hype trains, for a reason. So Ammo Williams, I'm looking forward to that one, and I think he'll perform well. I mean, it's a big showcase. You know what I mean? He's fighting on the big card. It would have been bigger if it was with Beterbiev in it, versus Bivol, but like it's still a huge card to be fighting on. So I mean, I think that'll be
Yeah.
entertaining. Those are my
Most I was gonna say most definitely. No, I agree with you.
yeah. So I'll take those. But the Willie Hutchins, I'm sure they're going to be entertaining. You got to be excited to watch Bivol one way or another, just because it's him. You
Yeah,
know what I
just
mean? Just
I mean, watching his skill set is, it's just something else. So I feel like, this is gonna be a good opportunity for all the fighters on there to be
hmm
able to showcase their skills. And for all of our Fight Bananas fans out there that may be more MMA fans that are just getting into boxing, I know a lot of the times they'll do boxing at the same day as the UFC. This is the Saudi Arabia card. So just like the Fury versus Ngannou, all those fights, it's going to be on earlier.
hmm
So if you're like me who likes to just kick back during the day, cancel all the plans on a Saturday and just, glue into the TV and watch some fights, you got this boxing on beforehand, and then you can go straight into the UFC afterwards for the nice cherry on top for the
Oh
rest
yeah.
of your evening. So, no excuse for my MMA fans to be able to see some good boxing over the weekend. But that being said, so that leads us into the co-main event, possibly, I think, or at least the co-feature of the 5v5, which is going to be the Philip Hergovich versus Daniel Dubois fight. My thoughts on this, and then I'll ask you your thoughts. We got Philip Hergovich, who I feel like is just getting kind of brushed under the rug in the heavyweight division. He's done what he's supposed to do. He's been the mandatory for the IBF title since 2022. So I get why there's the whole, oh, we're going to strip Usyk and make him, even though I don't like them doing that, it's still, I feel like the whole thing is a little unfair to Philip Hergovich. I still don't know what's going on with that. I know you were looking into it. I'm not sure if they're going to strip him of the title and make this for the title. We might know up until moments before the fight. We'll see what happens. But Daniel Dubois is a guy who I feel like he should beat. I don't really like saying it because it sounds disrespectful, but I feel like Daniel Dubois is one of those guys that when the fight gets tough and he sees an opening to find a way out, he takes it. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I just don't know if he's talented enough right now. And like you said, with those, I haven't watched enough of him to see that. But
Mhm.
I do know that I've heard of him. I watched him. What I feel is enough to judge. Not not to be too critical of it, but I don't knowing the two opponents, I don't feel he has the talent level to hang with Hrgovic right now.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's there. Um, looking at the some of the things, yeah, I just watching like what he fought. Did he fight Usyk?
Who, Dubois?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was Usyk's last fight before he fought Tyson Fury, and then Daniel Dubois had a comeback victory versus Big Baby Miller, which that was
Okay.
a tough fight too. He
Yeah.
got beat up in the first couple rounds, but Miller was like 300 pounds plus. I think he hadn't fought in like 2 years, 3 years, something like that. And he ended up pulling out a stoppage in like the last round.
Okay. Okay. That he's coming off something nice, so that's good. But it seems to me like a tactician can keep him at bay
Hmm.
and not allow him to get his power shot off. And I feel like that's kind of what Hrgovic is going to end up doing is just kind of boxing him and making it his fight. And I just don't see Dubois beating him right now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. 2 points I'll make about Dubois. One is to kind of expand a little bit on my previous assessment is when I watched him fought Joe Joyce, it looked like he maybe could have got up but didn't. So that's where
Mhm.
I saw maybe he's got that little bit of quit in him. And then when he fought Usyk, I thought, okay, we'll see if my theory is correct or if it was just, he had the eye injury, whatever. And I felt in that fight too, it was kind of the same thing. I feel like he could have kept going, but he didn't. He just didn't want to continue. So that's where I get that from. I don't like to be, critical of the guys that step in there like that, but it's one of those things where some guys you can just see that. And even, I mean, not so much anymore because the guy's a little bit wild, but I was always and still am a Conor McGregor fan. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing with him too. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys where when the waters get a little too deep and he finds a way out, he sees the life raft instead of keep it on swimming, he'll jump to that life raft and you know tap out. So you know what I mean?
I do, I do. I mean, but if you're getting choked, you're getting choked. I mean, it is what it is. But
Yeah, but sometimes it's one of those things where you put yourself in the position for it, whatnot.
I mean, I
And
get what
and
you're
technically
saying.
speaking, against Khabib, he wasn't getting choked. He was getting
His jaw ripped off.
yeah, which is a little bit different. But um you get what I'm trying to say. Like I
I
said,
know
I'm
what
not
you're
trying to be
saying.
too critical of it. I'm not trying to be that guy that's
No,
over here.
he just doesn't have the gas tank to keep chugging through, and he doesn't have the will to push that gas tank to keep chugging through.
Even another example is Anthony Joshua versus Andrew Ruiz. I
Yeah.
thought he quit in that fight.
I thought I saw him say, "I don't want it anymore." I thought
Bro,
it in the
when
first one.
he tried to say like he wanted to, but when you get up and you're not really listening to the ref, the big thing is too when you spit out your mouthpiece.
Yeah,
Come on, bro,
but
you know what you're doing.
the
You know what I mean?
mouthpiece.
It's
Yeah, the
it's like a
mouthpiece.
it's a soft quit. You know what I mean? We know the tricks.
Oh yeah,
Like
it's
it's one of
definitely
those things.
you definitely see people spit out the hole, but mouthpiece fell out. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
sure. Yeah. And you see them push it out with their tongue. And it fell out. But yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. But the other point with Dubois is a lot of people try to hold on, and I feel like it's a lot of English fans and whatnot, but they try to hold on to, oh, he should have gotten a TKO or a KO victory over Usyk on the body shot. That was classified as a low blow. My question to you is, did you see that fight? Did you see that blow? What were your thoughts on that shot?
I mean, it honestly could have been one of those calls to go either way. But if the ref calls it what it is, it is what the ref calls it, right? Just like when we see horrible decisions, this is boxing, people. This is just what boxing is. Things just we it it probably could have been counted either, like truly either way. Like it could have been maybe a low blow. It could have been, a clean shot. Either way, obviously did significant damage. Because he like for it to be either a low blow, it did damage, or if it was an illegal shot, it did damage. So there's an argument, but the call is what it call. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Normally, when someone gets hurt to the body, and it's like just from what I've seen over the years, and they get up, that body is 100% affected for the rest of the fight.
Oh yeah.
And like you could have, why didn't you hit him to the body again, like some other time, clean and like make this thing hurt, and then like just to me, I'm investing in the body for the rest of the night.
Yeah, you're spamming that shot.
Yeah, like, and it's like, okay, but it's like, did he do that? He didn't really do that. Like was Usyk really hurt, that way, or was it a low blow because he was able to recover? And a lot of people, once you get hit with in a liver shot, or your body decides to take a little drop, you need a second to breathe. It's not the same for the rest of the fight. I mean,
the water's already in the basement.
Exactly. You're starting to flood, so it's like, so there's that argument that way. That kind of proves it too, right? The fighter did what he had to do. So, I mean, Usyk is Usyk. That the ref made the call the way it is. You got to roll with it and go.
Yeah.
And if you really hurt somebody that bad and it was a body shot and you think it is, invest in the body.
Yeah, definitely. My quick thoughts on it was a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it landed right on the belt line." Right? And it did pretty much land right on the belt line, so they should say, "Oh, it was still a little bit low, but it was the majority of the glove." If you take the center of the glove, it landed still on the belt line. The issue is if this was a straight 2-shot body level shot with a right hand, the top of the knuckles are up here, and that would have been higher up on the waistband, and that I feel like is a legal shot. The fact that it's an uppercut, the knuckles are now on the bottom. So people are saying, "Oh, the glove was hit the waistband, the belt line." Yeah, it did, but you have to look at where the knuckle line is, and that was under that bit. So that part of it, because of its being upside down, that part was under it. And the way I describe it is like when you get kicked in the nuts, you feel it in that like lower part of your abdomen. That's basically the part that he hit is the same area that you feel. So when you saw that reaction from Usyk, it was essentially like he got hit in the nuts. So
it's also an uppercut, so it's pulling up on that cup that you have, so it's yanking you up that way. You know what I mean? Especially if it is the knuckles are going that direction, that's the way it's going. Well, that's a good way to break down because I didn't even think about it like that. But you're right, the knuckles would be on the bottom side if it was an uppercut like that. If hit right down in the middle, like you're saying. So,
I mean, unless you're training to punch with this part of your fist. Which,
I mean, you're not trying to. If you're a proper boxer, you're not trying to. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So, assuming that he was trying to punch with his knuckles, being at a world-class level, I think it was the right call from the referee.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. Like that's a very good. That I wasn't thinking about it. I just knew it was close, and I was like, man, we can slow it down, we can do all that, but this ref is seeing it in real time. If he sees it the way he sees it.
And then once the call happens, the call happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he sees it the way he sees it, I mean, we all could have been arguing, and Usyk could have been looking at him going, I got hit the ball the whole time. We're going to be like, oh, it could have been the other way around. You know what I mean? And
a good example of this same thing is Kovalev versus Ward 2.
Yeah.
Where Kovalev thought he was getting hit with low shots. The ref called them body shots, and he got stopped.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And there's an argument to say, hey, those were low shots. But guess what? The ref called it in real time. Those are body shots. Kovalev didn't recover. The fight's declared a TKO.
Yep.
So absolutely. That's the example of it going the other way. So, 100%. It just is what it is. It's in the past. He's not getting a victory over Usyk. Even if they were to rematch, I don't see a world where he's beating Usyk. So it is what it is. We'll see if he's able to beat Hrgović. If Hrgović is able to win, that just kind of shows that really he should, be that guy that is fighting for that IBF title sometime in the near future. But
he has if he wins impressively and Deontay Wilder wins, that'd be a matchup they can make.
I think if Deontay Wilder wins, and Hrgovic wins, Deontay Wilder is going to be fighting Anthony Joshua next.
I think so too. I'm just saying if Joshua ends up saying something or something happens, say Tyson falls out, whatever it is, Hrgovic and Deontay wouldn't be a bad one if they both, perform well this weekend. Because they're
And
also they're on the same fight timeline too.
for sure, yeah, because it all comes down to the timelines too. You know what I mean? The matchups and whatnot. And the reason I say it like that is because I've already been hearing from listening to interviews and whatnot, from what Eddie Hearn's have been saying, um, that they're looking at Hrgovic as a potential next opponent for Anthony Joshua.
Mm.
So it's one of those things where if Hrgovic wins, he could be the next fight for Anthony Joshua. And I think, honestly, that's the fight that makes the most sense for Anthony Joshua because it either gives him the chance to fight for an IBF title or it gives him now that he's able to steal that mandatory status from Hrgovic.
Yeah.
But if Deontay Wilder wins, forget about the mandatory status, whatever. I feel like the fight with Wilder is the way to go, just as far as the fans, the money.
Oh yeah, right there. Those two things right there. That trumps it all. The path for Joshua to get back to the title shot, if somebody who wants to unify something, if Hrgovic is the next mandatory or something like that, and he just wins this fight, then it's probably to go Hrgovic route and take that because they would probably then combine that to make that if they wanted to take the IBF title away from Usyk or anything like that, that would be a matchup to make for the title. You got a mandatory, then you got Anthony Joshua, who's a popular name fighting for it. That's one you can make a title for. But I agree with you. I would much rather see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua before it gets too late in their careers, especially if Deontay Wilder gets the job done in emphatic fashion this weekend.
That's the key. That's the main key. Yeah. Is that he has to be able to, like, if he just kind of slugs across and gets some sort of a like, let's say it's a 12-round decision, but it's an ugly fight. Nobody really didn't do anything. They were kind of like afraid of each other's power type deal, in that sort of alternate future. That's something where, it might be like, hey, let's just go the, Wilder did get the win, but the fans might not be invested in anymore because the whole point is we want to see the bronze bomber, the guy with the one-shot KO.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel everybody pretty much agrees if he's going to win the fight, it's going to be by that one-shot KO. I think the only decision that he's had is with Fury in the first fight, which, we could go down the rabbit hole of, was it a long count? Did Jack Reese get on both knees and start counting over a dead body? All of that.
Either way, he Undertaker the hell out of that shit.
I know.
He said the hell out of it. Just popped up.
But ultimately, it was the right call. But the only other decision that Deontay Wilder has on his record was in his title-winning performance against Bermane Stiverne back in 2014, literally 10 years ago. And
you mean where he won a decision?
Yeah, where he won a decision.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I'm talking about decision in general, where he went the 12 rounds.
Joseph Parker, he went 10 rounds with.
Well, yeah. Other than that.
Oh, okay.
So we can add that one in there too. But previous to when Deontay Wilder was Deontay Wilder, because that's who we want to see now.
Yeah.
Is Deontay Wilder, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then the guy that he did go the 12 rounds with, he put him out in the first round the next time they fought, right?
Completely annihilated him.
Yeah, it was like one of those nasty knockouts you've seen virally, all that stuff.
It was nuts. It looked like they shouldn't have even fought.
It really did. Yeah. I couldn't believe the dude actually fought him for 12 rounds because I didn't see the first one. So I was like,
the first one I watched, because it was Deontay Wilder was on a hype train where the most amount of rounds he had even been to at that point was 4. He had never been past 4 rounds. Oh, wow. So everyone said this guy can't go 12, and he did end up going 12 and outboxing Bermane Stiverne and winning the decision. And that in itself was impressive. But now it was one of those things where, okay, his 100% knockout record is not that means anything, but that's gone. But then once he knocked him out, he was able to claim, I've knocked out everyone I've ever fought.
But, oh, yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. What are your thoughts on Zhang, Big Bang Zhang?
um, not gonna lie, didn't watch a lot of them, but I did watch his last fight. Um, and he just hits so hard, and like it's just so hard, and it's just like you look at it and like, holy crap! Like it's not fast, it's just timed, but it's just there's just blunt force trauma on it. Like it's like a car wreck. Your hand, his fist is just hitting you, and it's a car wreck. So it's impressive that way. Uh, and he takes a shot really well too. I mean, clearly, but other than that, it's just typical basic boxing. I don't see anything too unbelievably technical with it. Like, I mean, it's technical, but it's just a simple concept, going there. He doesn't do anything out of the ordinary really well. It's
Mm-hmm.
his power that smacks you in the face, and you're like, oh shit, okay, so all right, I gotta do way better than that. I gotta be on my P's and Q's because this dude can put me to sleep.
And we saw
So
that happen with Joseph Parker in real time in their
yeah,
12-round fight. That just happened in, when was that? March?
yeah,
February?
yep.
Something like
Before
that?
the fight before he beat Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, so we'll see what happens with that power. It doesn't hurt that, and let me say this for both of the guys, right? I'll bring this up. Deontay Wilder's not a big heavyweight. In his fight against Joseph Parker, he weighed 213 pounds. In Zhang's fight against Joseph Parker, he weighed 291.5 pounds. So going into this fight, if they're around the same weight, I mean, we're looking at a huge weight advantage and disadvantage for both of these men. What do you think that plays into this fight?
The thing why it helps Deontay Wilder is because Zhang doesn't move.
Yes.
His feet are going to be planted. He's going to be
Mhm.
based out. That chin's going to be right here. Now, he may move a little bit and get his hands in the way and take some punches, but if he gets that bronze bomber and if he gets it loaded and cocked and found it and detonates it at range with his, he's got like an 80 some odd inch reach.
Something.
Some crazy. If he detonates it out there in the 80 centimeters or whatever it is,
83-inch reach.
if he detonates out there, damn near, out there 4 feet away from him at the end of his punch, and Zhang's just there planted, oh my god, it's gonna blow up the man's face. Like it's gonna cause damage 100%. So that helps him. The part it doesn't help is if you don't get to hit this man clean and you don't get to do that, that's a lot of weight taking a lot of forces that if it doesn't land where it's supposed to land, he could take a lot and walk you down. And if he starts putting his weight on you and you start slowing down and he starts landing this, he still has 70, well, that would be about 80 more pounds than him. If he comes in at 213 again, that'd be 89 more pounds for him to lay on him, to push on him, to throw the weight behind, to make sure that
Yep.
there's still power behind the shot because I got 89 more pounds than you, man. Like I can put a little bit more weight behind it. So
And that was part of Fury's success is
yeah,
putting that weight on him.
but the good thing about Fury and
He
why it
can
was so
move.
successful, he can move, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, he can
He can
move,
move like
man.
a middleweight.
Yeah, he can move, he can dance, he can shoot. So he
Yeah.
can move that weight around and make those punches miss.
Zhang, I would be shocked if we saw Zhang moving around the ring like that.
Right here.
And that was the thing about Zhang. Like, so in our last show, we had talked about fighters leaving meat on the bone, right? I felt like in Zhang's fight with Joseph Parker, Parker did what he had to do. All the props to Joseph Parker for being able to go in and figure it out after getting dropped twice and being able to win a decision. Because I mean, first of all, just statistically, like on the scorecards, it's hard to win a decision when you've been dropped twice.
Mhm.
And then,
But that was the only rounds that you could say Zhang really kind of won, though.
yeah, and maybe one other,
Yeah,
you
like,
know?
and that was it. So it's like, I get what you're exactly saying because I remember that. It was like I definitely think he left meat on the bone. You're absolutely right. He
Yeah,
I was waiting for him. I was like, when are you gonna put a little pop behind him? You got to get
yeah.
working a
I
little
was
bit
like, you
more.
dropped him, and then what?
Yeah,
We're just going back to boxing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. What are we doing here?
yeah.
So that's what that's the thing. And like when he lost to Hergovich, he's fighting a guy who's able to box, whatnot. So that's the thing. Zhang is he's a guy that's good for the heavyweight division because he's big, he can hit hard, he can knock people out like we saw with Joe Joyce. Because the fight in fight math, Joe Joyce knocked out Joseph Parker. And then he fights Zhang, who loses to Joseph Parker, but he knocked out Joe Joyce once. They rematched, and he knocked him out even worse in the second one. So he's somebody who's good for the heavyweight division, keeping it fresh, keeping these guys on their toes. Um, we just have to see if Deontay Wilder is going to be able to do it. And for him, I feel like they always say the last thing to go is the power. But for him, I feel like it's just the delivery system of that right hand.
Do you really like when you say that? You said that on the last show that we talked to. So I definitely want to ask you about that. What what do you think is wrong with his delivery system? And then also, do you ever think it was actually a good delivery system?
I don't think it was the best delivery system, but I think Malik Scott definitely helped dial it in. I think we saw that with the Luis Ortiz rematch, where he was able to position him with the front hand straight into the right, and then in the obviously the fight with his last one, the Nordic Nightmare. What I'm forgetting his
I know
name.
you're talking about. Yeah, it's like I want to say Hunter, but it's not Hunter. It's like Helena or Helena.
Hellenius,
Helena.
Robert Hellenius, the Nordic Nightmare. So against Hellenius, as short as that fight was, he was able to deliver it quick. My thing is what we didn't see with Joseph Parker was him be able to shoot it out. It almost looked like he was like double thinking or questioning what he was doing. There was something off, whether it was mentally, physically, his coach spiked his water or his his outfit was too heavy. Who knows? But I felt like there was just something off in that fight. So that's I feel like is going to be a question for this fight too. Is he going to be able to punch when he needs to punch? If Zhang leaves his face there and gives Deontay Wilder the opportunity to punch him, that's awesome. But Deontay needs to punch him,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't really see that against Joseph Parker. So, but also credit to Joseph Parker. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? He was
yeah,
able
no,
to
no,
put him
like
on his back foot
yeah,
and
he
keep him
moved,
from doing that.
and he took it down out of Fury's playbook. Put Deontay on his back foot. Don't let him stand in front of you. Don't let him get comfortable. Make him retreat and try to throw that power backing up for sure. Which it kind of amazed me, which how athletic he is, how he can't take one step backwards and really deliver a super clean right hand when he wants to. I feel like more athletic people are the ones that really do the pull and shoot. And I feel like he's a very good athlete. Excuse me. Um, but I don't ever think his right hand was ever been the smoothest. It's always had a hitch, but
Yeah.
his hitch was so in, intent on the jab touching you first. So like he could load that hitch because he could touch you from so long away with his
Yeah, at
jab.
least measure you.
Yeah, so like I feel like it worked that way because of that. I don't think it was anywhere as smooth as it should be. Like when you look at certain people just throw certain right hands, they just they just turn it over. It just comes from right from the chin down the pipe, and you just time it, bang, it's just right there. I feel like his power comes from him loading it, but his load was always good because he could always flick that jab out so far away, and then he'd finally get the range enough to where once he got that and kept you there, he realized, oh, now I can just shoot the right hand, but I can kind of like feint something and load it as I feint and
Mhm.
rifle it
At
down
least
because
blind you a little bit
yeah,
with that jab hand, measure
yeah,
you and blind you at the same time, so that by the time that right hand was coming down, you didn't even realize it was already too late.
yeah.
You were looking at the canvas.
Or you're at that distance to where you're just now covering up, and people don't get this. You can have a very tight guard, and you can walk somebody down like this, or you can back up and you think you're in range. And if a hard bomb comes down there and you're not exactly ready and tense for it, that's splitting and still or doing some damage. That's
Yeah.
still shoving your gloves back into your heart.
Mhm.
So if you're not ready for something like that, when he can throw something from that far away and hit you with that bomb, I mean that matters too. So that like, especially if he ends up being the bigger guy in the ring, which he was a lot of times. Now he's coming across guys where he's not necessarily the bigger guy anymore. And I mean, like, tall wise, like
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
usually
yeah,
like,
yeah.
because you can throw down with a little bit more torque. When you're fighting guys that are taller, you got to punch up. You're fighting guys your height, it's a little bit different. Me being the height that I am and the weight that I fought at, I would love to. I didn't mind a guy being a little bit smaller. I mean, I could punch down and made it easier. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You're not using as much energy. So he was able to do that more times. So to me, the delivery system has never been fantastic. It's been adequate to let his atomic bomb go off. It's like we built a great bomb. He has this unbelievable bomb. So we just got to get it there. It doesn't really matter how we get it there. We just got to get it there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like that's kind of what it is. They're just getting it there. And now people are realizing, oh, well, if we put them on the back foot, that doesn't get there nearly as hard or as often and clean.
Yeah.
And now you got to.
So to your question of, I was saying that and whatnot, that wasn't to be confused with I thought he had the greatest delivery system. It's just in that Joseph Parker loss, it just looked like it like something was going off. It wasn't there. He like he didn't have stamps to deliver the mail to
Absolutely.
the appropriate destination. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
I agree.
So
I
hopefully
agree.
this time he made a trip to the post office and he's all stocked up because I would love to see another fantastic Deontay Wilder knockout. And if we do, and that leads into a Anthony Joshua fight, that would be exciting. I don't fancy his chances too well in that, to be fair. If you would have asked me anytime before 2020, I would have probably put a couple hundred easily on Deontay Wilder. Just because, like how I broke down in the last show, I think there's a difference in the Anthony Joshua we saw then and today. And now I feel like there's a difference between the Wilder we're seeing now and the Wilder we were seeing then. But you never know. You're only as good as your last fight. And if Deontay Wilder can pull it off again, we could be having a whole nother conversation come this time next week.
Absolutely. Now, has Zhang ever been knocked out?
Has Zhang ever been knocked out? That is a great question. So he has 2 defeats, and they are both by decision. His first loss was actually to Filip Hrgovic. So before that, he was a previously undefeated fighter. He lost a unanimous decision, and it was actually a close decision too. It was a 115, 112, 114, 113, 115, 112, and against Joseph Parker, he lost a majority decision. So his only 2 losses are close decision losses.
So that bodes well for Deontay Wilder's confidence if he puts this man out. Like,
Yeah.
so that going back to where I know I right now that Joshua 3.0, as you like to describe him, is on a roll and he is looking very, very good. Like, very good. Confidence, giving a puncher his confidence back.
Huge.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. He doesn't now he knows that he can put somebody. Oh, I still have the pop to put somebody out that's never been put out. Oh, okay, okay. Let's go take this serious for a couple, like right now again, because now I know that I can. Okay, nothing's going away. It's still there. And now you give somebody confidence like that, and I feel like that could change. That would sway my feeling of the odds of the Joshua Wilder fight. It would make it much more prevalent where I would believe in that power again. I would believe in the simple delivery system that he likes to choose. You know what I mean?
All we need is a little bit of hope.
That's I mean, and I feel like once if this happens and he really does put Zhang out on, and I mean, especially if he sleeps him, if this dude just goes snoring, and everything like that, wow, that's a wow thing, right? Does everybody? Do you agree with me? Do you think would you go wow? I'd be pretty like, okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
No, absolutely. I think you're hitting it right on the button. I feel like a lot of people would have their confidence back. And that's just what we need. That's what we need. That's what he needs. You know, when they shine the bat signal in Gotham, it's not because Batman's coming every time. It's just a lot of the times to remind everyone that he's out there. So that's what we need people to know
Right.
is that right hand is still there.
Yeah.
And if you watch the Joseph Parker fight, you might think, he's seen better days. It's gone. I have nothing to worry about. And then you get blinded by that jab, measured, boom, lights out, and you end
Yep.
up looking like Dominic Brazil.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I love the quote. I love the analogy to the bat signal. You hit my. You touched my heart with that one. You touched my heart.
Yeah. I'll have to show you my comic collection.
Oh, I have one too.
Bro, I got Detective Comics Faces of Death,
Okay.
signed by Tony S. Daniel, sitting right over here on my bookshelf.
Dude, Tony S. Daniel's the man. He's the man. I love his version of Batman. I love Grant Morrison's too. Grant Morrison was. Oh, we're gonna get on a tangent here, but just so you know, I have a giant. I have a giant Batman tattoo right here, like a whole.
Oh, nice.
So, like, bro, that's yeah. Like I said, you touched my heart with that one, so I got
And
you.
for our listeners, this is relevant to boxing.
Absolutely, it is.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Batman. They say he's one of the best martial artists in the world, if not the best.
Very true.
So
Very true.
there you go.
He's the most skillful hand-to-hand combatant in the DC universe, from the understanding.
He's the baddest man on the planet.
Oh, he is absolutely. He's
John Jones, Francis Ngannou. Y'all better watch out.
That's right. That's right.
And then we got one other comment that came in. I don't know if this guy's watching the right show, but he said, "I got Islam by second round KO." Sweet, bro.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I don't. I have Dustin Poirier winning this one, y'all. Just so y'all know,
By
Dustin,
Gilly.
because he's got the boxing skills. So I'm taking the stand-up hand
The
man.
boxer.
Yeah, it's gonna be a right hook. It's gonna be a right hook. Watch. It's gonna be left uppercut to stop the shot with a right hook. 4-3.
I mean, and Islam's been fighting, standing up. You know,
yeah.
I feel like he doesn't try to push for the takedowns as much. He doesn't spam the takedowns as much as Khabib did.
No, not as much, but that's what he's gonna end up getting to. If he doesn't like the feet, he's gonna go right to it. So
yeah, and we're pulling Gilly.
I don't want him to. I want him to stuff it and knock him out. Stuff it and knock him out, man.
Listen, all I'm saying is all my meals I've been eating them with my Poirier's
hot sauce.
I got that and the KO edition.
Is it
well.
good?
I think it's pretty good. It's pricey. You know what I mean? I had to ship it to myself, but whatever. You know what I mean? I'm trying to support. The KO edition is good. If you guys want to, if you put a little bit too much, it's one of those things where it might ruin your meal if you don't like spicy like that, because you'll like your face will start sweating. But
it's got a good flavor though.
It does have some good flavor. You know, I use it on my dinners and whatnot, and I use it for my wife's dinner as well. And she was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." And I go, "Oh, that's Dustin Poirier's," and she was like, she's a hater. So she's not a fan of Poirier. You know why? You know why? Because she's a fan of Colby Covington.
Oh, why?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. She's a fan of Colby. So
I'm sorry. I apologize. I mean, I'm
so even though she was disappointed in his last one,
does she like watching fights?
She watches them. You know what I mean? But her main thing is that she can't really stay up for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But she'll hear me ramble on about it. You know what I mean? So hopefully now that we have this outlet of the Boxing Bananas on the Fight Bananas podcast, she won't have to hear me ramble on about it. I'll get it out of my system and we'll chat about it.
Probably not. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I'll probably go back to her and recap the show. Hey, babe, this is what we talked about.
You see what I'm saying? They're just going to build more. It's okay. Because my fiance is the same way. So, like, I'm drugging her to fights every Saturday. Like, when UFC was going, we were going once a month, whatever it is, all the time for the longest time. She used to go to my fights. She went to a bunch of Taekwondo ones for me back in the day. She went to all the boxing matches. I drug her everywhere. And then she would go with me on trips to coach fighters and stuff, to the point where she's like, I'm okay right now. I don't have to see them anymore. It's okay. I was like, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, for sure. She's been to a couple fights with me. We went to the Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley rematch.
Okay.
Um, specifically because if you remember, it was supposed to be Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury,
Mm-hmm.
that fight. And excuse me. It was supposed to be Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury until Tommy Fury pulled out. And the reason why she was interested in that fight was because we watched that season of Love Island
Yeah,
with Tommy Fury on it.
she knew him too because that silly show. So silly.
We watched the whole thing.
I get
Which
drugged into those.
shout out to him.
Yeah.
He met his wife and his baby mama on the show. She
Oh
was
yeah. I
one of
mean,
the bombshells they brought in.
if it
Yeah.
works, it's fantastic. It wouldn't work for me. I'd lose my mind on one of those places.
Yeah, but yeah, she went to that fight with me. That was awesome because obviously
That's cool.
he starts Tyron Woodley, which I was so surprised of. Um, Amanda Serrano was on the undercard of that, and she's Puerto Rican, so that was awesome to see. We also went to the Amanda Serrano fight in Orlando in October, and I told her, I said, "Babe, I'm getting us tickets for this. You're going to be excited to go. It's going to be like a Puerto Rican party," and it was.
I bet it
I even
was.
brought the little flag that we had from the last time we went to Puerto Rico, and we bought it on the beach.
That's
She was like, "Why
awesome.
are you bringing that?" I go, "Just wait." And then if you've ever been to one of those, it's like the flags are everywhere. So
That's cool.
that was
That's
cool. And then she went to the last UFC Orlando with me as
mm,
well.
yeah.
So she's down for it. It just has to be, the right fight.
Yeah, I get that. Like she'll watch certain ones on TV with me and stuff like that. Well, then we've been to a few different UFCs and stuff like that. So like she'll go to ones that are like that. And but I used to literally drag her everywhere, like to the bar, wherever it was. I didn't hole the wall. Let's go somewhere. We got to go watch this fight. You know what I
Somebody
mean?
that's
All over the
showing it,
place.
right?
Yeah, it'd
Yeah,
be on
exactly.
every Saturday, every something or other. So I get it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, yeah, like I was saying, on the last show, like she knows on Saturday nights, unless it's like some sort of family thing going on, don't plan anything. And especially like times like this Saturday where it's during the day as well. I'm telling her, that block out the whole day. If you want to have a girls' day or you want to go shopping or something, go
Go
do
right
your
ahead.
thing because
Go
I'm
right ahead.
unavailable. I am unavailable for the whole day. We got boxing on starting at 2 p.m. We got the 5v5 Dimitri Bivol team Matchroom Boxing versus team Queensbury. It's going down in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And then afterwards, we got the UFC fight. So it's gonna be a good night and a good day of fights. Professor John, before we close it out, any other final thoughts, any predictions, anything that you want to see? What are you thinking?
I would love to see an emphatic knockout come for the main event. Deontay Wilder, Zhang. I would love to see that. Sorry, Zhang. I'd like to see you get KO'd pretty like highlight
In
reel.
devastating
Yeah,
fashion.
like
And
yeah.
I hope you're all right afterwards, but
I hope you're
we're
completely fine. Like nothing's wrong. You just wake up and you're like, yeah, I'm good, no worries.
yeah,
But I hope you fall through the ropes when it happens and everything. Like it's just
yeah,
dramatically overly acted out there
Like
for it.
Mick
Yeah, yeah. Or like when B Hop fell through the ring. You know
against
what I mean?
Joseph Jr.
That was a good one. Uh,
That was
and
crazy.
so something like that would be great. I'd like to see I'd like to see little Ammo Williams, put on a show and those undercard fights. Really,
Hmm.
you're on a solid card. A pretty big event. Go show out, go put some really good fights on for us, and I think that's the most exciting. And then I'm going to take the King of Diamonds in the UFC fight, and then I'm going to take Paulo Costa in the other one. So those are all my.
Secret Juice Costa. Okay. I think he could pull it off. You
I
know what
just
I
think
mean?
it's going to be a banger. I just don't think Strickland's gonna have to bang with him. I don't see Strickland
Yeah.
being able to like keep him away at a jab and do what he did. He throws way more punches than Izzy and all of that kind of stuff. He's not a counter puncher. He's going to go
Costa's just
forward.
such a huge guy too. You know what I mean? Um, I to the boxing, I want to see a good undercard because that's what boxing's missing,
Mhm.
and it is good undercards, man. That's
It
one of the
is.
reasons why UFC the stock has gone up so much more as well. It's a plethora of things. You know what I mean? We could talk about excitements of the fights, the right fights happening, the styles, the matchups, but also specifically is because it's an event. When you watch it, you're watching the UFC fights.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching it from 10 p.m., if not sooner, all the way till it's over. Tomorrow night, we're not just going to be like, let me know what time Dustin and Islam fight. No, we're going to be watching the whole thing. And boxing, some of the times those undercards are like, oh man, this is hard to get through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some of them are brutal because it's guys that you don't really know, you're not invested in, they don't have the best styles. It's not the most exciting fight, and then you're just kind of like, I just paid $85 for this pay-per-view. Talk about the price of eggs. What about the price of pay-per-views?
Yeah, no shit. Oh my god.
Dude, remember when pay-per-views were $50? But if you wanted to do the HD version, it was 60, and I was like, damn, 60,
yeah.
but it's gonna be an HD. You know what I mean? It's Cinco de Mayo. I guess I'll buy it.
Yeah.
So that's what we need. We need exciting undercards. Hopefully, that's what we see. And I just hope that it's a great day of fights and a great day of boxing coming for us on Saturday.
Do you not like here? I'll pose a question. We can talk about this on another episode, but here's a question for you, so you can think about it. Why can't boxers come together and put on a great full 4-fight pay-per-view card and just make even more money? Because how many more people are going to buy the damn thing if you put on solid 4 fights? An unbelievable, a really good prospect, 2 title contending fights where people know who they are, and then a championship fight, or 2 superstars super fight, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Or put on a 4-person tournament. They all fight on the same night.
Not twice. Not twice, but I know what you're saying.
And then the next time
they fight again.
The losers fight each other, and the other 2 fight each other. And
so, like on the last episode, for example, we were talking about T-Bud versus Madrimov and Ortiz Jr. fighting Tim Tszyu. Those fights are on the same night.
Yeah, then
and they could potentially fight each other next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
More things like that to give us more of a like, this is relevant.
That card is what you're describing. What it comes down to is just money, man. What it is we already see an issue with fighters that are just pricing themselves out of fights. And certain ones, because sometimes people will, they'll say overpay, but at the end of the day, you're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay. So then if you've been paid something one time and nobody wants to match that, you feel like you're, not getting paid what you're worth, etc. That's a whole nother discussion. But then they're going to be arguing over the split of the pay-per-view points. The main event's going to say, well, I want the whole split, and then I don't want to share it with the undercard, stuff like that. But I feel like this whole Saudi Arabia thing, which is something that has to go into this Saturday's fight, so we could touch up on that real quick too, is the introduction of the Saudi Arabia money in His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. I'm all here for it, bro. Like, if you're going to put on the right fights for us, and especially if you're going to put on fights in the middle of the day, on the same day as the UFC, bro, do that all the time. I would hate for this 5v5 card to start at the same time as, Poirier versus Islam. Yeah. I don't like when I have to put 2 TVs next to each other. And I got to go like this, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't like doing that. Or sometimes I'll put one right underneath the other one, so they're still like in the same view, but it's like I can just kind of like, change levels.
It's an art form of trying to figure this shit out, bro. It's an art form.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm down for it. And then that's what we're seeing in the August 3rd fight card, where they have a ton of fights on that one. But we'll definitely cover that when it comes time to it. But yeah, other than that, any other last thoughts?
No, man. Looking forward to the fights. Everybody enjoy it. Be safe over the weekend. And, we'll see you on the next show.
Absolutely. So everyone, make sure you subscribe to the Fight Bananas YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like. If you're on Facebook, hit that heart. And then drop a comment below. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And then even if you're listening live to the show, drop a comment. I'm seeing the comments. I can throw them on the screen just like this. with our guy Dave Van Auken right here. This show is fire. He knows what's up, and he knows the whole Fight Bananas platform is fire. So if you're
That's
not
right.
following on all YouTube, Facebook, Instagram,
Every,
X,
everything.
everything, bro, make sure you're hitting that follow, that subscribe, and you'll catch some more takes from me and the professor. So until next time, guys, we are out.